Three, two, one.
Welcome to episode 142 of the Narcissistic Music Disorder.
How's it going, buddy? How you doing today?
Oh, not bad. The sun's out.
Man, I don't know. It's been for us. It's just been freezing cold. I played outside last night. Played this festival outside. We had the 6 to 9 slot, and I was grateful for that because I felt like the 9 to 11 slot
Ooh,
was going to
yeah.
start getting really cold, and it was still like cold enough where your nose ran a little bit, which is real. That's rock and roll. Nothing looks more rock and roll than just that little bit of you know booger on the top of your lip there. So, um, telling me, obviously, folks watching the video probably will know sooner than later. But what do we got happening today, dude?
Well, today we had to have the first three members of the Great Affairs on to get to this guy, because
Well,
he's
he
the
lives
most
in an
important
insulated
member, the
world.
bass player.
He's
Mr.
in an insulated world. He doesn't just talk to everybody,
That's
Scott.
that's right. We had to prove we could get the other three on first, and Denny twice. So, Mr. Matt Andersen from the Great Affairs.
Morning.
Welcome. Yes. Well, again, the hardest part about having members of the Great Affairs on this show is the fact that Scott and I are both such big fans of the band. We tend to embarrass people and make people uncomfortable. But I was already thinking this morning, Matt, so I want to know kind of how you got to the Great Affair, and you've done other stuff and do other stuff, but how did you end up in the Great Affairs? Because you're not an original member of that band, correct?
No, actually, I am. I'm actually a founding member of the band.
No shit. Okay.
We started it. I met Denny just randomly at a show. I had seen him around with his old band Bombshell Crush, one of my bands here in Nashville before. Done a couple of shows with him, and I never met the guy. And I actually went to one of their shows, and he was sitting there when he had Former, and I was like, well, I'm just going to introduce myself to the guy, and we just kind of struck up a conversation and kind of had a lot of the same interests. And then he asked me to fill in a couple of shows for Former when their bass player had to have an operation done. And then we just kind of stayed in touch, and he decided to put the Great Affairs together, and we had a sit down lunch somewhere over Mexican food, which is usually our go-to. And we just kind of put it together around 2009, and we did that for a couple of years, and then we kind of branched off, and he did Former again. I was in a band called The Decadence, which was kind of a pop rock thing. And then they kind of morphed back into the Great Affairs. And then I came back around 2015. So
okay,
I've
so
been
there's
back
where
almost 10 years.
yeah, there's where my confusion is because I remember seeing like some footage with somebody else on bass.
Henry
So I
Go.
didn't know that you had come in or been in and then kind of left and came back or whatever the case is.
Yeah, and Henry, man, he held it down. He's a great dude, great
He's
bass
awesome.
player. Way better harmony vocalist than I will ever be.
That's if I could. I always say, like, my dream would be to be able to sing. I think that sounds like a lot of fun, but to be able to sing harmony too, because if you're I make the league minimum as a musician, but if you can do that and sing harmony, I feel like you're opening a lot of doors.
Oh, yeah.
And I just can't. I'm the worst at it. It sucks. I try, then I sing an octave, or I sing this warbly sounding thing that sounds a little bit like the Louvin brothers and a little bit like, I don't know, cartoon mice. I don't know what it is, but
yeah, Denny and Kenny really they taught me a lot.
I bet.
I thought I kind of understood harmony vocals, and they were like, no, this is how it goes. And there was a lot of woodshedding going on, but it's what really helps those songs pop. I mean,
yes,
it
those
does
choruses.
so many bands.
Yeah, that's true. My dad was a harmony singer, a great harmony singer. I mean, he's still alive, but he doesn't perform anymore. He would sing in the car, and I remember thinking, like, even as a young kid, like, this dude's in a band, he cannot sing. He's not singing right. Well, he would be singing harmonies to these things, and it always sounded like weird. I mean, it seemed to fit, but it didn't sound like the lead vocal, and it was really weird. And one day he kind of explained to me, he's like, I always sing the harmony part. And then I played with him for a couple of years, and I've played with a couple people who are that way, they walk up to the mic and like you're singing and they'll find a part in the moment to you, like they can just hear it and start singing, and that's badass. I mean, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I'll be straight up honest. That's outside of my pay grade, man. That's
Me too, man.
that is a whole
That's a
different
magical
skill right
talent
there.
right there.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I got home last night and my wife and I were just hanging out and we were watching old Everly Brothers videos. Whew.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Holy smokes, man. Good night. You talk about in real like early TV stuff live. They've got their acoustics. As a matter of fact, my wife goes, "Oh, those acoustics are so cool. Why don't you have one?" I'm like, "Because you never let me spend money." She's like, "Oh, you should get one." And I instantly, I'm like, "Holy, I got her right now." You know, I hop on Reverb and I show her. I'm like, "Here's this cool Everly Brothers jumbo model, left-handed." It was $4,000. Anyhow, she changed her mind. She changed her mind. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. So
yeah, the last P bass I bought, I found this one on Reverb, and I was like, "Oh God, I really want that." And I had mentioned it to my wife, and she goes, "Oh, well, that would be nice." Well, I went ahead and bought it and didn't tell her ahead of time. But it wasn't $4,000. It definitely wasn't that. But I had to do the hey, when we were driving down the road. Remember that P bass that I was telling you about? Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, it's going to be here in a couple of days." And
oh
things
man,
got quiet for a second. It was fine, but it at that time I was like, yeah, I should have probably given her a little advance on
Yeah.
that one.
No, that's okay. It's you know, it's when your significant other comes home and there's you can never hide that box. Like your other
Oh
Amazon stuff.
no.
The other Amazon orders and stuff, like my wife, God love her, but you know, the Amazons are rolling pretty heavy around here. There'll be some boxes. And a lot of
Story
times
my
she'll
life right there.
she'll go, "It's
Yeah.
for work, you know, it's for work." Well, I could say that, except here's a giant box on my front porch that says Fender. What I'm gonna, you know, what are you gonna do? It's for work. It's for some work stuff I'm doing. Well, anyhow, Scott, kind of lay out the if you would, just for those who maybe this is their first time with us or haven't heard us with a guest, lay out the structure of what we do here with our very special guests.
Sure, we're gonna do our pick 5 today.
I got
And that is your rock record, your pop or power pop record, your country record, your R&B or hip hop record, Motown, whatever you like, and then your NMD or your wild card, something obscure or something that's near and dear to you that a lot of people might not know about.
All right. Well, I put my list together today. I don't know if I'm happy with it or not. I'll have to get in and see what you guys think. But let's have our guest Matt start us off with his rock record. What was the rock record you picked, Matt?
I knew the band that I wanted as my rock pick because I'm a diehard fan. It was just a matter of picking which album. So I ended up going with the debut. I went with Out of the Silent Planet by King's X.
Dude, I just listened to it. I just listened to it yesterday. That
was a
lie.
tough one because Gretchen is kind of a lot of times a go-to for people. Faith, Hope, Love to me is fantastic. I love the self-titled. Dogman to me is just sounds like $1,000,000.
Yeah,
I like that one too. Yeah,
but I just Out of the Silent Planet I always go back to that one.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good. And
was that 92?
That was 88 actually.
88.
Yeah.
And those first 4 when they used Sam Taylor as the producer on it, and they all have kind of a similar sound across the board.
Right.
And I think that's why when they went with Brendan O'Brien on Dogman, I mean, that was just such a big change sonically.
Do you guys think that Dogman was and I don't mean a ploy in a bad way, but I'm just saying it was grungier and darker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like they're kind of, and that would explain the change of producers trying to kind of slide into that sonic, scape that was happening at the time, I think.
Yeah, and I think that was also their attempt to really kind of break and just get over that hump because
they were too good. They're too good to break.
I've seen them so many times, and they're not running tracks. It's all live. All those harmonies are live, and they have always been spot on. And Doug's in his 70s now,
and looks. He's always been super skinny, and he's a great player. He's one of those guys that you don't see, a lot of your Tom Peterson type dudes with like the 12-string bass, you
Yeah.
know, and the other thing is Ty Tabor. I mean, dude, I can remember finding out at one point, like around 88, 89, when I got out of that, he played through like a Lab Series amp.
Yeah. Yeah. He played
And
those Lab Series and
they
solid
were like,
state.
you could get them for $1. You know, they'd come into my store I worked at, and I always wanted one. And then I'd heard like BB King used a Lab amp or what, but Ty Tabor's tone, especially on all those, you know, those first, what'd you say, the first 4 records,
First 4. Yeah.
are just his chord voice, and not to get nerdy, but like his chord voicings, their harmonies, and then, I mean, all of that's cool. But then there's songs. There's great songs, you know.
Yeah,
I
their
mean,
songwriting was fantastic. The harmonies always were fantastic. And I remember the first time I saw him was on MTV, to show my age right there. I think it was the video. It was either Over My Head or It's Love. I think Over My Head. It was obviously the earlier single, but
yeah,
you know, here's Doug, you know, with a mohawk 3 feet high, and you know,
and looked cool.
they
Man.
looked freaking cool back in the day for that.
Oh my god!
And man, I was like, they were just so different from anything coming out at that time.
Yeah.
I loved that band. I still do. Like I said, I think it was a day ago I was listening to Out of the Silent Planet. And the other thing about them too, they were like, you'd see them on Headbangers Ball,
Yeah.
you know, and you'd be like, but they were so beyond that, you know, that kind of pigeonholing. And the other thing is, everybody from, I don't know, now I'm just going to use a name, but like Kerry King from Slayer, and you know, Duran Duran or whatever, they would all be King's X fans. All the guys in Anthrax love King's X. All these, they were just, I think they're a musician's band for sure, right?
Well, I know they toured with when Pearl Jam put out Versus, they took out King's X as their support on that tour.
Wow.
And Jeff Ament is a big fan, and he's friends. He and Doug, I know, he had Doug on one of his solo records, I believe.
Killer.
And, they just and they put out just consistently good records. They even in like 2005 when they put out Ogre Tones, that was that record front to back is fantastic.
They're on the road right now.
Yeah,
they are literally. I just saw a show where Doug had some problems. He was having trouble breathing. He wasn't well.
I saw that on the video,
and he just dropped his bass and left at the end of the night. They always seem like cool guys. And the other thing that YouTube is good for, and I'm sure I've never seen them live, and they were in our, like, probably, you know, an hour and a half away from me when I was a kid, and I just didn't get down to them. But and you've probably experienced it, Matt, is when they do Goldilocks live.
Oh, that's an experience when they just anymore. They just turn the microphone stands around and let the crowd sing the whole tune. And it's so cool to see.
And they sing. I mean, there's some counterparts in that song vocally, and the audience does it somehow.
It's doing it. Yeah,
this mass of people works out their parts.
Yeah,
they sing it, and I mean, I'm an emotional guy anyhow, so you know, a long distance commercial will choke me up. But the first time I ever saw a clip of them doing that, I mean, I got emotionally moved. I mean, they looked emotionally moved, and I was like, holy shit, this whole club, you know, this mid-sized theater is singing it. And it's just, God, great opening pick, Matt. Boy, Benting, you better come through with something cooler than, I mean, it's on you now.
It's not cooler, but it's right on the level, and you guys will not disagree. 1990 brought us "Fly Me Courageous" from Driving a Crime.
Dude.
Okay, I can support that.
Yep. You've got no hate from me.
Away.
God, they were and
I mean, a mix of Americana and rock and Southern rock. That record, just everything on that record was cool.
Have you guys seen the documentary on them?
Yes.
Scarred but Smarter.
Yeah.
Yes. It's
God
great.
dang. Kevin Kinney's really cool, right? I mean, he's cool. That's a cool band. I really like, I mean, Fly Me Courageous was cool for another reason. And the reason is that it was a single. The song was a single, and it was pretty easy to play in one of you
Lots
could
of
rock
bands.
that in your early band, and it sounded cool because it had that single line, you know, And this will also, show, I told you league minimum, right? I can remember as a kid the ending of that song. If you think about it in your head right now, there's like an off time drum thing. And I mean, that was like when we got that, we were like, well, fuck, we're King's X now. Look at, we worked out that. But did you guys like remember the other single, Start a Fire? Oh, won't build a fire. Yeah,
Build a Fire.
that's a
Yeah.
great tune.
The Innocent, was that a single?
Yeah. Oh, get used to it.
Yeah, that started out with that acoustic thing.
They're a
We
cool
the
band.
people. Yeah.
They are a cool band. And then going before that,
The first two
Like,
are great too.
Mystery Road.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And if
Smoke right after that is a good one. It's a newer one. Whatever happened to the
something factory,
American Factory?
yeah,
American
That
Bubble
record's
Factory.
great.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Kevin's
cool
two
band.
solo records, Midwest, the one with Midwestern Blues. I think it's not. He does the other one with one of the guys from REM,
Huh.
and then he has Down Outlaw, that record.
They had a little rivalry with the Black Crows for a little bit down there in
did they?
Athens. Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, because they were kind of coming up at the same time. And the other thing is, and they've had a couple different guitar players over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, during that documentary, they had Sadler Vaden.
Sadler, yep.
Yes,
Yeah, with I saw him with Jason Isbell right as things were starting to open back up after
Yep.
COVID. That
he's
guy,
a killer.
absolute monster.
Killer. Got his own solo stuff. He's great in he's great in Isbell's band. He's a good player. He sings his ass off. He sings great harmony parts.
Yeah, his solo records are fantastic.
He's cool. Well, and you know who I think it happened. Maybe I imagined this, but I think it did. Driving and Crying had some show or maybe a short tour run. They were lacking a guitar player, and Warner Hodges played for them.
He did. The first time I saw him was, I guess it was around 2016, and I didn't know Warner had moved on from that. And it was Lar, I always forget his last name, playing guitar, who is fantastic as well. He's been with him a few years now. Actually, I think he might have played for Isbell at one time.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. I'm probably wrong. I'll ask the guru, Kenny Wright or Denny Smith, my two musical gurus.
Our go-tos as well.
Yeah. But I was so excited thinking I was going to see Warner, because that guy's in Jason and the Scorchers, he's great.
Hey, to me, there's a handful of guitar players that are below the mainstream radar, I guess. But to me, I use them as like, I go, well, this is my Jimmy Page, or this is my Angus Young, or my, like, Warner Hodges is my Angus Young and Malcolm Young in one dude, or Audley Freed is my Jimmy Page or whatever, those kind of guys, that circle. But Warner Hodges and Jason and the Scorchers, especially, and Jason and the Nashville Scorchers, we go way back. Dude, I tell the story on this show all the time. Flipping through MTV again, and mind you, in this era, I'm into, I'm a hard rock guy, and it was absolutely Sweet Marie, the video, and I'm like, holy crap! And it was Jason and the Scorchers, and from that point on, I like Jason and the Scorchers. Still do. I still love Warner. Love Warner and anything he's doing. If he's with Dan Baird and the Homemade Sin, that's kick ass.
I dig those records.
Oh my God. He's just so good. What are you holding up, dude? Is it Jason the Scorchers?
Still standing, Jason and the Scorchers.
Yeah.
I found this record yesterday at a antique store for $3.99, dude.
They're the coolest.
Oh, that's a freaking steal.
They're the coolest. They're the coolest. Wow, you guys. Now I made so much fun of you. Now I'm stuck. I mean, what am I going to do now after Driving and Crying? Well, you guys might not agree with this, but for me, a great rock record with great guitar tones that came in when, like, Led Zeppelin was we didn't have a Led Zeppelin, was Don't Say No by Billy Squier.
Oh.
Which, I mean, you think, for me, it was the big guitar. It was Les Pauls and Marshalls and Lonely is the Night. I mean, he sang really great. He played great guitar. He had Jeff Galoob on guitar, who was killer. They had a great band. One of my favorite drummers of all time, Bobby Chenard, was their drummer. And if you think about that, I mean, that had like The Stroke was on it, I think, and In the Dark, doo, 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 all these cool parts.
Yep.
The other thing is Bobby Chenard, their drummer, is one of two guys that in that era had this snare sound that the only way I can describe it is it's like they put the head on and turned it one turn and left it. It was that big floppy snare. He had it, and Stan Lynch from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers had it.
Yeah.
And I can remember hearing Petty say that when they were doing Damn the Torpedoes, there was a lot of pressure on Stan. Like Stan struggled with studio time, right? Staying in time. And because he was that drummer, he was a feel kind of guy. And Petty goes, well, it would be hard to stay on time when you had to pull your stick out of the snare every time you hit it because it was so loose. But, yeah. So mine was Don't Say No. Let's move on to Matt's pop record. What do you got?
On pop record, being a huge power pop fan and kind of, you know, what the Great Affairs does, that's kind of right up my alley. This one I thought about for quite a while, and I was flipping through my catalog, and one I just hadn't pulled out in a while. I decided to go with Flip with the 2002 record Volume.
Okay. I'm not familiar. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Scott, does it ring a bell?
Minneapolis, Bryn Ahrens. It's just straight up just rock and roll power pop. Towards this, they were on I believe on Hollywood for their debut record, and then this one, the 2002 record, they were on Artemis, and Art Alazakis actually produced this record.
Oh, from Everclear. Cool.
So, and Bryn Ahrens, the singer guitar player, painted his face like half white, half black, and would come out. And I never got to see them. I was a little late to the party on this, but they did like one stunt, and I cannot remember which festival it was, but they had their own Flip cereal, and they came out, they hired someone with a helicopter to fly over it and dump a bunch of cereal on the crowd as they were playing.
No way. That's genius.
So, but they do that. Denny saw them once. And during the guitar solo, I believe it is, the bass player came out. I hope I'm getting this correct. The bass player came out and sat in like a beanbag chair because they would use those old custom amps with the big
tuck and roll, baby.
Custom amps, and they had TVs on top of them. And during the guitar solo, the bass player comes out with a bowl of cereal, sits in a beanbag, and sitting there eating cereal, watching TV.
Watching TV.
And
cool.
Again, Denny, I hope I got that story right, since it is secondhand. But they had I believe the first single off that was Freak. I believe they got some play on MTV for that one. But that's one that I highly suggest.
It's written down. It's written down right now.
And they had in between the Hollywood record, the self-titled debut, and then Volume, they had one called Blow It Out Your Ass. And it's cool as well, but they took a couple of the songs off of that and redid them with Art, and Volume is just it's way slicker. It just sounds bigger. It's
cool.
Okay.
But I would highly suggest that one.
It's on my list.
Flip.
Scott, what was the band? Beats. What was the band that you and Denny talked about recently? You hooked me on them. Remember?
Oh, the Damwells.
Damwells. Yeah, that's been really good.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying that, so I'm excited about this Flip record too. What's your pop record there, Scott?
What I Like About You and Other Romantic Hits from the Romantics.
Dude, those are our boys up here.
Yeah,
the Romantics were just the shit.
Yeah, man, that record is. I mean, it's a greatest hits, but it's so awesome. They're just so poppy and power pop. You know, I'd call that power pop.
I would too. The
guitars are great, and
there was an era of my old band Dutch Henry where we covered One in a Million.
Okay.
Which
One
was
in a Million,
baby, you're the one. And they were an MTV band. I mean, when you saw that video for Talking in Your Sleep, and they had the matching leather get-ups,
the suits and the skinny ties,
man. They look killer, big poofy, bouffant hair. I mean, there's so many great. The singles were good.
bands like the Marvelous Three, would
Oh
be
yeah.
huge Romantics
Uh,
influence. And
The other thing about the Romantics too, and I'm going to use the example I use with Fly Me Courageous, man. And it might, like, my kid is 17 and he plays drums, and like, there were a handful of songs when I was a kid that if you were going to go to people's house and it's like, hey man, we finally got 4 people to have a bass and guitar and drums, and we'll get together. You played like "Living After Midnight" by Judas Priest because it was
yeah,
easy. The drummer could go boom, ba, boom, boom, ba. You played "What I Like About You."
yeah,
You played 8675309 by Tommy Two Tone. It was those kind of songs. And I so over the years, like, you go hear a bar band and you're gonna hear "What I Like About You," and you'll hear some pretty shitty versions of it. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. Then you go back and listen to the Romantics do it, and it is a pop lesson in guitar structure, and how they, you got open position chords and inversions and just cool stuff
it's the
that
first song I
matters.
ever heard where someone motorboated someone at some point in the studio.
The brrr.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. I had never heard it referred to that way for that part, but
It's called studio motorboating, man.
yes, it was an effect. They had that in the box.
I'll bet you $1 million back in the day they probably paid, some record label had a recoupable expense for the band, so a
They
girl
brought
could
in an
come in and get
outside player for that one.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now Lexicon has a really nice motorboat feature that you can get
They
in
actually played a few years ago up in somewhere in Central Illinois where we've played a few times, and they were at one of the performing arts centers, and I annoyed the heck out of that talent buyer trying to get that support slot. And he probably has me like blocked on
Black-
his email at this
black-
point. I was like, I came short of saying I will sell my right arm to get this opening slot.
You guys, that'd be a killer bill.
yeah, it
That'd be a
would.
killer bill. You know who was playing drums for them for a while was Brad Elvis from the Elvis Brothers.
I did not.
He
know
might
that.
still be playing with them. Yeah. And they, like, Mike Skill is in the band, the guitar player. I don't know what happened to the singer cat. I can't think of his name right now.
Can't either.
He was the shorter dude.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but he had a lisp, remember?
Yeah.
You could see him, and I can see him in that video for "Talking in Your Sleep," which is kind of my favorite song by them. I still think it's great. I've always wanted to cover it, never have.
Great song.
It's good pick, man. That's a good pick. Wow. Well, my pop pick, you know what? I'm gonna throw names around first so you guys don't judge me too harshly, okay? I'm gonna say Nile Rodgers on guitar. So I've got your attention in some respect. Bernard Edwards played bass. I'm still. Tony Thompson on drums. Okay, I've got you. It's "Like a Virgin" by Madonna.
Oh.
Oh.
So you're thinking pop records, and pop.
Wow.
Pop is short for popular, right? Think Taylor Swift. Think of Beyonce. Think Madonna, and the "Like a Virgin" record. I mean, it had obviously the singles. "Like a Virgin" was on it. "Material Girl."
Yep.
All those. It had "Dress You Up," which was a great Madonna song. "Gonna dress you up in my love." To me, that is a killer pop record. It's just so good. It had some, again, Nile Rodgers would pop up on a lot of those records because of that. What he did in Chic. He did that on all those 80s records. That's how that was his kind of tone.
And he was at that time he was doing work with Duran Duran and
of course
a lot of those artists. And
you can hear it now.
Yeah. And from that era, she had probably what's considered one of the most iconic performances when at the MTV VMAs when she's doing "Like a Virgin" in the wedding dress around on the stage.
I realize it's 2025. I realize there are things that are appropriate to say and not say, but I'm just going to say this. As a young man watching the Madonna VMA performance, it was quite moving for me. It was quite moving. Because, and again, I mean, let's be honest. She was at that time, yet Prince and Madonna, it was a pretty sexualized vibe, right? I was into Berlin. I liked the band Berlin. They had a song that literally was called Sex, right? And it's a
And
great tune, by the way.
I saw them a couple of years ago.
You saw Berlin?
Yeah, it was Berlin, Howard Jones, and Culture Club. And she still looks fantastic. I mean, and
Terry
was up there like she was 20 years old running around.
Dude, and Culture Club, I almost picked Culture Club because I think Boy George is a kick-ass singer, and I think has a soulful. I love, the "Do You Really Want to Hurt Me?" I mean, think about it's hard to get by Madonna too, right? It was so image driven. Like you say Boy George, you picture that era of Boy George. You don't
Take it away, George.
You don't always think about how good that voice was and how blue-eyed soul it was. That's a soul singer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that. There were so many like soul and R&B underlings in those, and like like "Do You Really Want to Hurt Me" that's a reggae beat,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, I don't know who produced like Culture Club records, but they sounded great. Think of the harmonica in the song of the I'm a man, Karma Chameleon.
Yeah.
The harmonica, it sounds killer. It's mixed killer. It's just perfect. Yeah. So I did Like a Virgin by Madonna for my pop record. And the other thing that's of note on that record too, where it was popular, I can hear it in my ear. I know what it sounds like now. It's the Lynn drum machine. The Lynn drum machine that they all used back then.
Yeah.
It was in the I kind of would like to have one for some reason because it was the Lynn drum machine that it was
Pyromania.
Like it's on Pyromania. It's when Mike Campbell and Tom Petty got one, they hit a preset and it turned out to be "Don't Come Around Here No More."
Wow.
It's a pattern on there. I mean, I think they hit probably pattern B or whatever, and it went and they put it through a delay or whatever, and they had a hit record. So, all right, moving on. Matt, what's your R&B or rap?
I actually went with the hip hop.
Attaboy.
So for this one, I went back to my my high school years. I went with the second Public Enemy. It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back.
Hold us back.
Because that's almost like that's like the heavy metal end of rap. Because those guys, the beats were so heavy on it. Those guys were aggressive. They were in your face. The message was a super strong message, and I just that record. I loved Yo Bum Rush the Show. There's some great songs on that, like My Uzi Weighs a Ton and all that. But that second record, I popped that in my CD player, and I fell in love with that record.
I just turned my son on to Public Enemy. And I too, as a matter of fact, I believe on one of these shows, Scott, I think my rap record was Fear of a Black Planet.
It was, yeah.
That was great as well.
I told the story on maybe on that show, but in college, I had a film theories class. And what you did is at the start of the year or the semester, you picked a movie and that's all you wrote about. You wrote paper after paper after paper. You gave presentations, blah, 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 blah. Mine was Do the Right Thing. And you cannot, to me, I cannot picture that film without Fight the Power.
Fight the Power, yeah.
Yeah.
And what a balance of, I mean, this learned, you had Chuck D. You had, this very stern, socially aware, we can say it, right? Militant. I mean, Public Enemy was militant.
Absolutely.
And then you had the
guys in the military uniforms on stage, the security of the First World.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The S1Ws, Professor Griff.
Yeah.
And then you had the balance of Flavor Flav. And I don't know a ton. Like, I don't know a ton of people whose job description was hype man.
Hype man, yeah.
But Flav he was literally a hype man. And that's, plus he, when Flav would take over, like, his verses in 911 is a joke. It
was a joke.
His voice,
Don't believe the hype.
Don't believe the hype. Yeah. Killer. Good pick. Man.
I've never gotten to see Public Enemy, but I did go a few years ago to see Prophets of Rage.
Oh,
when they
wow.
played Nashville, and it was Rage Against the Machine with Chuck D and Be Real,
Yeah, I
and
bet that was cool.
it was fantastic. And they did a section in the middle where the guys went off stage, and Chuck D and Be Real just did like just a big run of all the hits together, and
Oh,
Oh,
and
cool.
it was freaking cool to see.
that would have been cool. I wonder how old Chuck D is now. He's got to be getting
He's
up
got to
there.
be in his 60s,
I
I'd
would
say,
think so.
because that first record came out in like 86 or 87, I want to say.
Yeah.
They the other thing about Public Enemy too, and I've told this story because I've used I think I used I probably used Straight Outta Compton one time because I don't have a ton of rap background, but the rap albums I got into, I tell the story like when I heard NWA for the first time, NWA and the Posse, it was like a mixtape. I thought it was like Weird Al. I thought it was a joke because I'm like, that can't be real. Nobody's that raw. Nobody's, I mean, they're just swearing to swear, and the shit they're talking about is not real. And then it turns out it is real. That was real. Like, and when by the time I got to Public Enemy, I knew they weren't. There was nothing. They were not joking. They were making statements, and it wasn't happening in my neighborhood, but that was happening, you know? And that's heavy for a Midwestern kid, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty heavy. And then, of course, you're going to, for me, you're going to pair up with Anthrax. Now you've got me extra hooked.
Yeah,
I'm
a
even-
buddy of mine saw that tour, and he snuck down to the front row, and it was Primus was on that tour, and then Young Black Teenagers. And he said during Bring the Noise, one of the guys from Young Black Teenagers dove off the stage and landed directly on him. And he was the only person trying to hold this guy up, and it ended in a disaster. We'll just
right?
leave it at that.
All right, Scott, what you got?
Stevie Wonder, number ones.
I just genius.
Anything Stevie, I put my stamp of approval on.
Dude, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I mean,
we just watched last night. Again, what a weird night last night was when I got home from that gig. But we were watching the clips of the Cosby Show on YouTube. Remember when Stevie was on there and he had the sampler and the whole family would
yeah. They're like,
yeah. Theo, say something, jam it on the one, jam it on the one, jam it on. Okay, you say something. They all said so, and Stevie made this little on the spot loop with where he's keying the whole thing, and Claire Huxtable's singing a little line, and then he sings with, they do like I just called to say I love you or something. But yeah, Stevie's been, I mean, he's Stevie Wonder.
Dr. Huxtable's in the background making cocktails for everybody.
Okay, dude. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, he came through Nashville not too long ago on a tour, and he did Songs in the Key of Life in its entirety. And I'm absolutely kicking myself for not knowing.
Yeah. He can't be young either.
Oh,
I mean, Stevie Wonder, he's been, and there's a guy too. You know, I wonder what that life is like, because he's never done anything but he's been in music his entire life.
Yeah. I read the book on Motown, and he was funny. He was like a practical joker. He would sit at the entrance, and then, because back in the day it was just a house,
right,
with the studio inside, and he would ask the person sitting at the counter, like, "Hey, what's the girl that's coming in? What color dress is she wearing?" And green. And he'd sit there, like, "Hey, that's a nice looking green dress," and everybody knew he was blind. He did shit like that, and yeah, he was funny, man.
And a multi-instrumentalist. I mean,
bass is
drums,
phenomenal, and yeah.
Well, he
wrote Sir Duke, man.
There's a story that I saw it was an interview somewhere where when he performed with Will Smith, I think it was either the Grammys or MTV Video Music Awards or one of those, that the song ends and everyone just goes off stage, and they're standing off stage like, "Hey, good job, good." Oh crap! Nobody got Stevie.
We love Stevie.
And he's still sitting out there at the piano, and they had to send someone out and get him backstage.
Oh shoot! Stevie Wonder. Again, genius. I feel a little weird about my R&B pick, because it was such a critical darling that it almost feels cliche to bring it up. But I was thinking about it today, because I was thinking about female R&B artists and that, and I can remember this seemed to open up the door to a lot of last night we were watching a Duffy, the singer Duffy, remember her, you know,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
in marveling, you know, because my wife and I are good for something will kind of get in our heads. We'll watch it on YouTube. Then we start watching live. Let's find some live clips of it. Actual live, not, you know, performing on TV show or something, just live. And dude, I mean, so Duffy was just great. And then, you know, Adele, we are going through. But my pick is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Dude.
That's a fantastic record.
It
I
is.
mean, I mean, and of course it had, I loved the singles. I loved That Thing, right? That's a great song. But the To Zion with Carlos Santana on it is
Yeah.
killer. Every Ghetto Every Day is really good on it. And I mean, I don't 100% know what happened to her. Like, right, she kind of had some sort of mental break. I thought something weird happened, and you never really heard about. I haven't heard about her in a long time.
She did the one record, Pieced
Yeah.
Out. Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
that came out in what, 96?
that feels
Somewhere in
about
there,
right.
96 to
Okay.
98. Yeah.
And yeah, and she had success with that, and then it was just like she fell off the radar for
Yeah.
years.
I don't know what happened to her.
And she would
Eminem brought
announce
her up.
tours, and then dates would cancel, and I don't know. It's a shame because I love that record when it came out.
And great. I also feel like, and I think chronologically I'm right, but I do feel like that Lauryn Hill record did sort of usher in a space for the Amy Winehouses and Duffys and Adeles and, you know, these great, because we were talking about that last night, because my wife was going, God, Duffy sounds amazing. I go, yeah, she's a singer. Like, we're so used to not hearing singers, like real pure singers anymore. When you hear someone who can really sing, you're blown away by it. You know, you hear
Yeah.
Adele live, or Amy Winehouse in her prime, or
well, also around that time when that was coming out, you had, you know, Eric Badu was coming out.
Yes.
Stacey Gray.
D'Angelo.
Yeah.
That
The-
Brown
that's
Sugar
great.
record. God, that's
Yeah. Voodoo too was phenomenal.
That what was the Erica Badu single that was so cool? Call Tyrone.
Oh yeah.
Call him.
Let's see,
Killer.
can't forget the famous Eminem lyric about Lauryn Hill.
What was it?
I bought the Lauryn Hill album so her kids could starve.
God.
Because she said, if I'd rather have my kids starve than a white person buy my record.
I
shit.
forgot about that. I forgot you did say that.
So M said, I bought Lauryn Hill's record so her kids could starve.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my, wow.
I bought it too. So
Yeah. A lot of people did. All right, moving on. Matt, what's your country pick?
This one took a little while. I went through a lot of things, but I came on one that another one I was late to the party on that actually Kenny turned me on to. I went with Shaver's Tramp on Your Street.
Say it, Scott. Say
oh
it.
man,
Why don't you give him a hard time, dude?
John's favorite.
Why don't you give him a hard time?
Dude,
Tell him
that
he can't
record
have
is
his shit.
fantastic.
Fuck yes, it
And
is.
Billy Joe, Eddie Shaver is probably one of the most underrated country guitar players that there ever was. I mean, that guy was just a prodigy.
Scott, does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah, sounds like you guys set this up beforehand.
Listen, I can't say enough good. First of all, I just can't say enough good about Shaver in general. Billy Joe Shaver is a legend, a legend. Eddie Shaver is, I mean, I can go back and watch Shaver on Austin City Limits. The dude's playing like a Strat, his cool Strat. I don't even know what he used for an amp, but it is crystal clean, and he is burning, dude.
Well, he's one of those guys. It didn't matter what he was playing; it was going to sound good. It was all in his hands.
He had a band I didn't know about. Eddie Shaver had a band I didn't know about that was called, oh crap, I looked it up. I saw it in an interview. A dude who played guitar for Shaver, like after Eddie was gone, he was the last Shaver guitar player. He was on Otis Gibbs. If you guys ever watch Otis Gibb on YouTube. This guy, and the tagline that got me was, Billy Joe Shaver fired me 10 times. That was and the dude was like, yeah, we'd be riding back. He was like, he was guitar player, band leader, and sort of the tour manager. So he drove the car with Billy Joe in it. He goes, we'd get halfway home and he'd be like, when we get home, I'm going to let you go. You know, like, and it happened all the time. He goes, a month later, he'd call me back and go, I'll give you $10,000 to come back and play. And the dude said, you can keep firing me as long as he goes, I probably made an extra $100,000 in just fees for him bringing me back after he fired me.
Fired.
But he mentioned this band that Eddie Shaver had that wasn't Shaver. And there's maybe one clip of it. All of Eddie Shaver is, I mean, there's parts of his guitar playing. He sounds like Eric Johnson, and there's parts that he sounds like, you know, Don Rich. I mean, he's just, he's a hero.
I mean, that third track on there, Fast Train to Georgia, we get the train beat with Greg Morrow, because Greg Morrow was the drummer on that. And I actually worked a few sessions with, when I worked at a studio for 3 years here as an assistant, and I worked a few sessions with Greg, and it didn't matter if it was 90 degrees or 10 degrees outside. He showed up to every session in shorts, a t-shirt, and high top Converse.
Nice.
That was
nice.
Every freaking time. And he was the nicest freaking guy. And I wish I would have known about this record then, because I would have picked his brain about it. I really would have liked to know kind of.
Have you heard Shaver's live record?
I've got that one too.
At Smith's Old Bar. Now that's a burning ass record.
It is. It's
really good. Brendan O'Brien produced it. So my buddy who I play music with, they had a top 40 country band kind of in the, I guess, early 90s. They would play down in Nashville like we all did back then, and they would play the Wild Horse Saloon, right? The TNT Wild Horse Saloon.
Oh yeah.
They got there to set up one day, and there's a list. Like, we play casinos sometimes. I'm sure you do too, Matt, where there's a list like ours. I remember one casino, you know, you can't have a logo on your shirt. You can't smoke on stage. You can't drink on the premise, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, it turns out the Wild Horse is the same way. Like, you can't drink on stage. You cannot smoke. You cannot curse. So they're loading in, and the crew are talking about the band that was there prior, and it was Shaver. And these guys are going, dude, they were, number one, they were all drinking on stage and smoking, and then they would take the cigarette to put it out. They said he'd turn around and just mash it out on top of a Marshall cabinet, like right there, like they didn't give a shit. And but the whole crew's talking about just how great they were, you know. And those Billy Joe Shaver tunes are honky tonk gold, man.
Yeah, and he had 8th grade education, something like
that.
And
he had a good Christian raising and an 8th grade.
Yeah, an 8th grade education.
Ain't no need y'all treat me this way.
And didn't Billy Joe Shaver, now, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he lose, like, as a kid? He was working in a factory and lost 2 of his fingers or something. Yep. And still was
played acoustic. I mean, all of his Austin City Limits is so good. And it's in the peak of kind of their powers and Eddie's powers. I was in Nashville right at the time Eddie passed away, in a boot, in like down on Broadway, at a boot store. And the video for George on a Fast Train came on, and I stopped. I sat where you try on boots and kind of was watching it. I'm like, wow, that's cool. You know, I remember the video. I'd seen it a million times. And then it was in memory of Eddie Shaver. And the dude who worked at the boot barn came out, and we both stood there like, shit. You know, like, we were the only 2 people knew we'd lost something valuable. You know what I mean? It was Eddie Shaver. It was
such a shame when he died, because, I mean,
he'd still be playing.
He'd still be playing. What, mid-30s, late 30s?
Yeah. Yep. I'd say mid, I think. He was not very old, and was plagued with trouble, of course. But he, and again, the Shaver thing is, I mean, he's real. Everybody, you know, everybody wants to, Scott, here's one for you. Everybody wants to be a cowboy till it's time to do cowboy shit.
That's right.
Well, you know, Billy Joe Shaver, I love Waylon Jennings, and I love Willie Nelson, and I love all that stuff, David Allan Coe. Billy Joe Shaver was different than those guys. He was real. I mean, he threatened, that's how he got that Waylon album. He threatened Waylon. Hey, you're going to listen to these songs or I'll kick your ass.
Yeah. Oh, he would not shy away from a fight.
Yeah.
He would not back down from anybody.
Killer. I love him. That's a great pick. All right, Scott, what you got?
Welder from Elizabeth Cook.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I
Man,
mean, it's got everything you'd want. I mean, it's got some of her Heroin Addict Sister is
it's
one of her
great.
best songs. Yes to Booty's on there. That's a fun
Yep.
one. El Camino's
El
awesome.
Camino is one of my favorite songs of
Rock and
hers.
Roll Man about her ex-husband. That's a great song.
Have you ever heard her cover of I'm Not Lisa?
Oh God, yeah. I
Ugh.
heard her do it live.
Ugh. Ugh. I mean, that's one of my all-time favorite country songs. Jesse Coulter's I'm Not Lisa. My mom would listen to it. And weep for real. Like would
Yeah,
weep.
Elizabeth is got a unique voice. She's a great storyteller, great writer. I've seen her twice, met her once. She's phenomenal. She's awesome.
And again, I'm not trying to downplay her abilities as a musician. Huge crush on Elizabeth Cook. She's just gorgeous. I like her with the East Side Bulldogs when she plays with Todd Snyder and that band they have.
Yep.
Um, there's a video of them playing. It's probably somewhere I've played down there. I think it might even be the 5 spot. But they're playing this song, and I was so excited because I loved it. It was cool, and I shared it. And some dude in my hometown, he was like, "Oh, you think they could bother tuning up?" I'm like, "No, they couldn't bother tuning up, dude.
No,
They
it's Todd
couldn't."
Snyder.
Yeah, they're rocking right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
buddy of mine here in town, he actually runs a rehearsal spot. It's a rehearsal spot, like kind of video shoot spot for EPKs and such that's owned by Todd Snyder.
Oh
And
yeah,
Todd called the Purple Building.
sure.
And Todd and Elizabeth Cook were in there rehearsing one day, and he's texting me telling me that. I was like, "Can I come over there and just kind of sneak in the back door and see what's going on?" He was like, "No, I can't let you do it." But
Yeah.
I was like, "Man, that's like that's like a bucket list thing right there." Man.
Oh,
She's amazing. She played in Grand Rapids, and I got to meet her. And while Andrew's been on the show, Andrew Leahy's been on the show. But yeah, she's fan. Well, I was wearing a Butch Walker shirt, and she said to me, "He's producing my new album." That was coming out in like 6 months. It wasn't even out yet. That was awesome.
killer. Yeah, she's great. What a great pick. Um, my country pick is pretty obscure. Um, but it's a great album, and I'm hoping I've never used it before. But it's called Jackpot by a band called the Derailers.
Yes, their
That sounds
second
really
record.
Yeah, Jackpot. I think is their. No, it might be their
Might
first
be
because I think their second one was called Full Western Dress.
Yeah, I'm going to
okay.
make a note of this one to check this out.
Dude,
I know the name, but I've never gotten a chance to kind of
they're
do
Buck
it.
Owens and the Buckaroos. That's that's the model. It's Buck Owens and the Buckaroos. They cover some Buck stuff. They have their own songs. I got lucky and on a videotape in the other side of the basement here, I have an Austin City Limits that was Wayne Hancock, the Derailers, and I think Todd Snyder and the Nervous Wrecks. It
Oh,
was
wow.
That was a show, and the Derailers were so good. Again, they sound like early Buck Owens, with the killer Telecaster, the great harmonies, and I feel like, and I try to remember this show, Scott. It was at the old intersection, and I don't
Okay.
know if I played it. I may have played it, like may have opened for the Derailers. I was definitely there, and now I'm thinking we might have because I feel like I had access like during sound check to chat with their guitar player Brian, and
Yeah.
his tone was just bitching. So I'm like, "Hey man, like a dumbass. Hey man, what are you using?" And he just reached to his guitar and he pulled up this coily cord and it ran all the way back to a
Straight
twin
into the
reverb.
amp.
He goes, "Yeah, this is it." And I remember he still had like some dirt in his tone, so that twin was cranked up pretty good. Which
Yeah,
that's
it's
hard to
tough get
do.
a twin to break up.
It's hard
you're
to
at
do.
ear bleed volume at that point.
It's hard to do. And there he was, man. And I was, I wanted to like, what you delay in your compressor and all that. No, dude, I go right here.
Jackpot
It's my
was their
volume.
first record.
Yeah.
Reverb Deluxe is their second.
Thank you. And then
Then
Full
the one
Western
you
Dress
said.
must be the third. Yeah. Reverb
Third, yeah.
Deluxe is cool. Reverb Deluxe has a cover of Raspberry Beret on it.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
done
Okay,
country
I'm
style.
definitely gonna have to check
Yeah.
that piques my interest to hear
Yeah.
that.
You'll love them. You'll love the Derailers. All right. So we're on to our kind of quirky NMD driven, obscure pick. Matt, what you got?
I went with the record that it's weird, but it's cool, but it's rocking, and I love it. I don't know if they would have ever broken, but I don't care. I went with Life, Sex, and Death, Silent Majority.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's way so. First of all, that's you're kicking some pretty obscure jams there.
Yeah, that's Denny again. Denny turned me on to that when we were in Los Angeles for the NAMM show one year, and we went to I think it was Amoeba Records, and I'm wandering around flipping through the used discs, and I go past that when he stops me. He goes, "You want to check that out?"
Yeah,
and I had never heard of it, and
what a weird band.
It was so weird, but it was so freaking cool. And you go watch, like live footage. There's a lot of footage on YouTube, and people who didn't know about him had to go, what is this heavy metal band with a homeless guy,
with a homeless singer?
And Stanley, he lived that character. Like, he full on made it real.
Have you ever seen interviews from back in the day with him?
Yeah.
It is like
wacky.
It's really out there.
He reminds me of oh God, now I can't think of his name, from the Brian Jonestown Massacre. The singer dude. In the Brian,
think of his name.
I can't right now either. Anton.
Yes, Anton.
I can't think of his name. Weird, right? And you know who the guitar player in that band was? Yeah. Was Alex Kane.
Alex Kane. We actually did a show a few years ago with Enough's Enough.
Yeah. And he was on guitar?
No, their tour manager's running around, and Denny taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "Dude, that's Alex Kane." Yeah. He was tour managing for Enough's Enough.
Yeah.
And then not too long after that, he was playing guitar for him.
He just played with Donnie V like a month ago. He played the Whiskey with Donnie V.
He's a lifer, man. That guy, and he's such a fantastic guitar player.
Dude, he, again, watch your toes, I'm dropping names. He played on Ghosts of Sunset's record. And
No Saints in the City, right?
Dude, I mean, it was when he turned in that solo, it was like, fuck, man, it's really good. And he's rock and roll to the bone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's rock and roll. He's great. I love seeing him with Donnie V. You know what he does too? I've seen him do runs of shows with another guy I know who plays in a Guns N' Roses tribute band called Pretty Tied Up.
Oh yeah.
And Alex will do Izzy. He'll be the Izzy in that band sometimes when they need it.
Yeah. He also, that record, it's all 12 string bass.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Which is so cool.
And they were just, I don't know, man. It's like it took me a couple of listens to get through, and I was like, but it really, I don't know. It's just freaking cool.
That's a great pick. That's a great pick.
I haven't listened to that record in forever.
In the car, and I had it going, and he has a very different kind of taste in music than I do, and he just goes, "What's this crap you're listening to?" I almost pulled over. I was almost like, "Get out!"
Exactly. There were a lot of those bands, like those guys around that era who were kind of fringy. I liked a bunch of bands back then that nobody was like. I liked a band called Warrior Soul. I liked a band called Raging Slab.
That Drugs, God, and the New Republic. I like that. I love that record.
Yeah.
Return of the Space Age Playboys.
Yes,
there was a bunch.
Great too.
They're great. Yeah,
there was a bunch of those like style in the later, like early '92. Like I think Life, Sex, and Death came out in '92.
'92, yeah.
And then there was other bands like Circus of Power.
Around
I forgot about them. Yeah,
that's a great rock and roll band. Yeah, Raging. I loved Raging Slab. They were cool.
Wasn't there one called Circus of Soul?
Yeah. Yep.
They played with Brother Kane, didn't they?
I saw them with Brother Kane.
Yeah, at the Orbit Room.
They threw out cassette singles,
and
I have one. No, I threw out guitar picks.
No, you throw your demo on the stage at Brother Kane?
At Brother Kane, yeah. That was reverse, not from the stage. I threw
it back up to the stage.
I literally threw it right at Damon Johnson's feet. And I'm sure he probably put his heel on it.
Until recently that I was actually supposed to see Life, Sex, and Death. They got that tour, the 92 or 93 rather, Poison tour, when they had Richie Kotzen.
Oh yeah.
Poison and Damn Yankees, and it was apparently supposed to be Life, Sex, and Death.
Wow.
And
did you go to that?
I
You
did.
saw that?
Saw it in Nashville. It ended up being Firehouse in their place.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I actually, on a quick side note, my dad was a musician as well as a bass player. He and I would go to shows together all the time. He'd take me and a buddy to shows. And growing up, when we went to that tour with Richie Kotzen, show ends, he goes, "God, that is one of the best guitar players I've ever seen."
Yeah.
Then a few
Yep.
years later, we see the reunion tour with CC, and we walk out and he goes, "God, that is one of the worst guitar players
Yeah.
I've ever seen." I'm like, you just have to. It's CC. You
It's-
just have to
yeah.
love him for being
Right.
CC.
You know what? The thing too is because we're Benting over there is definitely he's a Kotzen fanatic. I love Native Tongue. I think it's a great record. I could almost do without Bret Michaels. Like if they cut him out and it was just Kotzen and Bobby Dahl and Ricky Rocket and whoever played keys on it. Because I really like Richie Kotzen's voice.
Oh, his voice is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I have that DVD. I had it on VHS first.
Oh,
the 7 Days Live.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I'm going to admit something painful here. It's not the same without CC DeVille. I mean, it's sure all the Native Tongue songs are killer, but to hear like Richie play the solo to Fallen Angel, it's
Yeah, and
like
he's doing his own thing. It was
right.
like,
And
that
good for
was
him,
weird
right?
me. Yeah.
Good for him. But even like if you think about the solo to Talk Dirty to Me,
All those double stop. Yeah.
right, everything's perfect. So Kotzen's there, and like I remember the Fallen Angel one particularly because he just burns up like an
Burned
arpeggio. That's it's like, yeah, well, but
Yeah.
I have to say this because this always matters to me. Kotzen's, but especially back then, cool looking
He was.
dude.
He was
He
freaking cool, dude,
he
on
had
stage.
like to me he lived in a world of like Prince and and like Lenny Kravitz. He was that kind of cool. Plus he was super skinny and he wore God, he was cool. Velvet bell bottoms and shit.
Yeah.
The man. He's the man.
Bitchin'.
What you got, Scott?
The band Man Rays.
That's Phil Collins' band.
Yeah. Phil Collins. Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Phil
is
Collins,
that?
Simon Laffey, and Paul Cook. The record I have is called Punk Funk Roots Rock.
Hey, wait, you said Paul Cook, not from the Sex Pistols, Paul Cook. No.
He's from Girl.
Oh, okay.
Oh, which was Phil Lewis also. And,
Yeah, from
Phil
LA
Collins.
Guy. Yeah. And Simon Laffey, and then Phil Collins was in Girl too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the Man Rays record it's if you like Leopard, like newer Leopard, you're gonna like Man Rays. He's got a great voice.
Yeah, I have one of those. Hold on, let me look and see which one it is I have.
It's a black cover with the Punk Funk Roots Rock written on it in like different colors.
Are the in there Phil is the singer?
Yeah, it's a 3-piece. He's singing.
Well, God, dude, he's in Leopard, so you know he can sing.
He can sing. It's really good. They do I think they do Fire. They do a Hendrix cover on there. That's really cool.
Phil played one of those either a G3 tour or
he did. That's right.
Oh, he did. I didn't know he did a G3.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a shredder too.
He is. He has a weird style. Like when I watch him shred, he has a weird way of playing.
I love him.
I do too.
I liked Willis. Obviously, On Through the Night's my favorite, or High and Dry. Those two are the best records from Leopard. But yeah, the when Phil came in, I wasn't mad, and because I didn't really know any better then. I was too young to know that Phil Collins, was taking the place of Pete Willis.
Right. But that duo though of Steve Clark and Phil Collins is a classic. That's Joe Perry and Brad Whitford for that kind of music.
Magic.
That's a magic. And that and we all, I mean, I certainly, I loved Vivian Campbell and Dio. I liked him in Whitesnake. Okay. He's great in Leopard. It was never, and he would say it. Leopard would never the same without Steve Clark. No, because he was so goddamn sloppy.
And he looked cool on stage.
Oh,
he just looked freaking cool. He had Les Paul borderline down to his ankles.
Think about Doug Pinnick's strap. He must put two together.
Yeah.
Because he is way down there. And Steve was always, and that's what like Joe Elliott said about Steve Clark. He's like, his guitar was always a little too low, like
Yeah.
to do some. So he played that way, but oh, he was the coolest looking dude in Def Leppard by far.
That In the Round in Your Face live, I wore that out as a kid.
I love, and I have Phil Collins is just seems to by everything I've ever seen, he just seems like the best dude. He's done whole like YouTube episodes where he just remembers Steve Clark or answers questions about him,
His his book was awesome.
I bet.
I'm
I
gonna have
bet.
to check that out because
Yeah, me too.
I've seen a few interviews talk about them when back in the day when they were all still partying and everything, like especially around Hysteria, just the debauchery that went on that
Yeah.
at that era. It's just
Dude,
that is straight rock. I mean, that's your stereotypical rock and roll right there.
it's a wonder. It's a number one. It's amazing that Def Leppard still, again, stadium tour.
Yeah.
Def Leppard, the band Def Leppard stadium tour. The other thing that's amazing to me is that they've made any money because all those costs were recoupable, and they were talking about like they'd get a house in Ireland and like the liquor bill for a month would be like $30,000. And
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 at the
they
time, wasn't Hysteria one of the most expensive albums ever made?
yes, yeah. I forget what they had to sell. They gave some number, like in one of those documentaries. We had to sell this number to break even.
To break
and it was
even.
such an unrealistic number. You're like, can you imagine? My guess is you're making that record, and they've made it a couple times. Remember, like Jim Steinman was in there, and they scrapped that, and they were making and scrapping along the way.
Yeah.
And then someone goes, well, guys, it's done. And here's what you have to make to break even. I wonder if those guys were just like, well, we're going to be bankrupt, right? We'll file for bankruptcy and try to piece this thing back together. But they didn't. They had Hysteria. I mean, and I thought Pyromania still is a beautiful record. I do like the early stuff. I like High and Dry. On Through the Night was not a huge record for me. Obviously Pyromania 83 is where it really all came together. And I mean, that's a great record. It's a great record. That's a great band.
Well, and to think a band where you have 14 tracks on Hysteria and 7 of them were singles.
7 of them.
Yeah.
That just blows my mind.
That blows my mind too. Those guys at that time could have literally released, farting in the microphone and it probably would have went top 10. They were just because Mutt would have went, okay, now you fart in this key, you and this, we'll stack those together, we'll triple track them. This is gonna be killer. Our final pick today, my NMD pick is a band I've turned a couple people on. I'm not sure if I shared them with you, Scott. I feel like I did. It's a band called Those Bastard Souls, and their album is called Debt and Departure.
Yes.
I know nothing of these guys. I can tell you how I got their album. Then you couldn't find it, and then I had to special order it. And all. I was teaching guitar lessons back in the day, and this kid goes, "I want to learn a song off this album." Brings in the CD, and it's this Debt and Departure. And he was a really cool kid, an artistic kid, and really a great listener, and good guitar player. And I remember him going, I just really like this line in this song. And all the line is, I don't remember if I told you I'm going back to California. That's it. He just loved that line. So I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I learn it. It turns out to be this pop masterpiece of an album. It's beautiful. I've found live clips they're playing clubs back in the day. They weren't huge. As good of an album as you're going to find. And I turned Wendy onto it, and she ordered it too.
Oh, okay.
And now that I think about it, dude, maybe I didn't order it. Maybe I had said that I'd had it and lost it and couldn't find it, and she mailed me a copy. Found a copy and mailed it to me. Those Bastard Souls, Debt and Departure. It's such a great record. It's recorded beautifully. It's a headphone album.
When did this one come out?
That's a great question. I could walk over and tell you. I'm guessing 90s.
90s?
Sometime in the 90s. Yep.
I'm going to go. I have a note to go check this one out.
You can find some of their stuff on Spotify, but it's not this album. There's some songs from it, like Train from Terminal Boredom. There's a couple other songs. That song.
What kind of music is it, John?
I think it's power pop.
Poppy? Okay.
I think so. I mean, it's pretty moody, but
It's
it's
got like with the sound, the name of the band, you'd think it's like darker country or something.
yeah,
That's what I initially
and
thought was
it's
like.
not.
Yeah.
It's just
Because there's a band called Those Poor Bastards, and I'm like, oh, is it like those guys?
yeah. No, these guys are definitely. It's a pop record. It's before all the Coldplays and Radioheads and stuff like that. I like it because it's an album that has those random moments of bloop, 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 kind of noises and shit like that, which
Yep.
I'm into. But the
That,
songs are
that
really,
was done by the
really
same guy who did the motorboat on that
Yeah,
romantic.
yeah.
exactly, exactly the motorboat patch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my final pick. So man, the best part about these shows is my list. What the list I come up with talking to you guys about this stuff and getting turned on to Flip or
Yeah.
it makes me excited for my next car ride or my next headphone session. Um
After
so
Kenny was on, I was on a Raspberries kick for like a week.
Oh
So
God, a good friend of mine here in town. He's a keyboard player that he was with Alabama for 10 years,
oh
and
wow.
he actually played for Eric Carmen for a
oh,
little while
nice.
when they did the Dirty Dancing tour.
Yep.
Wow.
And he was like, "Oh, the stories I could tell you about Eric Carmen back in the day."
I
And
bet.
it's those Raspberry records are addictive. It's
Oh,
just it's such great songwriting. I actually had to text him the other day because my wife had some noise in her car, and she goes, "I don't know what I'm going to do." And I just looked at her and said, "Turn the radio up." And I was like, I've now have Make Me Lose Control stuck in my head for the
yeah.
rest of the freaking day. And so I had to text him about that, and he was like, "Yeah, that's poetic justice right there."
Yep. That's called a hook for sure.
Yes, that's a fantastic song too.
Yeah.
But
Killer. Well, Matt, on behalf of Scott and I both, man, thank you. I know you're busy. Thank you for taking time.
no, thank you for
Um,
having me, man.
you know,
This has been fun.
we are such fans
Yeah.
of your band, of what you do, of the fact that you make. I mean, I will randomly text Denny and say stuff. I'll randomly text him, thank you, like just thank you. I'll be in the car rocking some great affairs, going, thanks, man. Or my kid, he's 17. We'll see you. We'll see you in Michigan.
Yeah, I was gonna make sure that we will see at least one of those Verve Pipe
I'll
shows.
be at both.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm gigging the night before, and I was supposed to be gigging that Saturday too. And so I told my son, my 17-year-old son, I go, oh man, dude, I think I'm gigging that Saturday when the Great Affairs are in town, expecting him to go, Dad, come on, man. He goes, so I'm like, yeah, man, but I'm not going to be there. Thinking, he'd be like, yeah, well, I guess he's like, so I'll be there. I'm like, okay. He doesn't
You have
need me.
raised him well. You have
Yeah,
raised him
well,
very
he's just as dorky as Scott and I are for sure. Only
Yes,
he's a jazz dork too, like
I've
Scott.
met Scott in person. It's gonna be good to actually meet you in person.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys. My hometown here has no idea what they're in for, and our friends in the Verve Pipe will be playing with you too, and we love those guys.
Yeah.
They're our boys too, and as a matter of fact, I was talking to their guitar player Lou. I don't know, a few weeks back, and I said, "Yeah, I know you guys are coming up to town. I got to come out and see you guys." And he's actually played at our college here and played with my son.
Oh wow. That's
So
cool.
I go, yeah, my son and I are going. We're really excited to see you. I said, but I got to tell you, the band playing with you is the Great Affairs, and of course he wasn't familiar. And I'm like, dude, you're about to be rocked. I'm like, the Great Affairs are playing, and my kid and I, this is huge for us. So we cannot wait to see you guys and catch up and certainly if you have time, we'll give you the 10-cent tour of town here. But we're just excited to have you and so appreciative of what you guys do and what you do, Matt, and being in a great band with a great rhythm section I mean, it's one thing you guys make great recordings. It's another thing when I watch live clips, those live clips you shared recently.
Yeah.
I think you
from
guys played with Mike Tramp.
Yeah,
There was
we
some
did
clips
Yep.
of that. Was it the Shed? Was that what the place was
The
called?
Shed
the
recently.
Shed. Yeah,
Yeah.
the one we did with Everclear.
Come on, dude. I mean, you guys are a killer live band too, and there's
So-
not a lot of those left.
Well, thank you, man. That means
Like
a
the
lot.
guys in Brother Kane say, they're a hard act to follow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amen. And I love the Verve Pipe, and I that original lineup I love. I love Lou. He played on Ghost of Sunset as well. But I don't know that I'd be super fired up to follow the Great Affairs, man. That's a tall. I mean, if I were in Cheap Trick, maybe, but I'd still be slightly concerned.
Oh,
I'd
that's
still
a
be
bucket
slightly.
list opening slot for me right there. So I'd
Yeah.
say both
Oh,
of them to open the
oh,
open them. I don't
dude,
know how
if
to
you
play, but
opened
we can do a
Cheap,
track.
if there was a Great Affairs Cheap Trick bill that toured the
Oh my
country,
goodness.
Scott and
I
I
think
would
my head
deadhead it.
might explode
Well,
before it
Scott and
even
I would
started.
become deadheads. We'd be selling shit in the parking lot,
No,
Yeah.
making bracelets for people and selling acid.
well, if you don't mind, I'll ask one favor for when we're up there.
You
If
bet.
you can direct me to wherever the local used vinyl shops are.
I got you. I
So,
got you covered.
'cause, I'll
I
probably
will.
spend more than I should.
I'll
but
tell you what. I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna work on that and see if we can somehow get access in there where you can really spend some time if you have it. And you won't. I can get you there. You won't have to worry about transportation, anything like
that'd
that.
be
So,
fantastic, man.
well, we'll do that
my
for sure.
That's my vice right there.
Oh, I got you. I got you for sure. Scott, you got any closing words for us, my friend?
You can learn to sing lead if you need to be a star, but the only way to groove is on the bass guitar.
Thanks, everybody.
Words of
Thanks
wisdom.
again. Thanks, Matt.
So
Thanks,
thank
Matt.
you guys. I'll
See
see
you,
you
buddy.
soon.
All right. See you, man.
Later.